we are at our first library for our library crawl. What is a library crawl, you may be asking? Well, it is the nerd version of a pub crawl. Instead of going from pub to pub getting drunk, we go from library to library and take out books to read. So welcome to our nerdy pub crawl. In this first attempt at it, we are going to Regina, which is the big city near us, and we have picked 5 different libraries to go to. At each library, we will spin a wheel and pick a prompt, and then from that prompt, we will have to pick a book at that library. The people in the video that you are going to meet are my mom and my 2 sisters. We are all taking out books, and then I will be asking them their thoughts on their books and which ones they would recommend to me. And hopefully in a future vlog, I will read the recommended ones. So let's get going on our nerdy library crawl. Here we are at our first library for our library crawl. This is the George Bothwell branch of the Regina Public Library. So we will go in and then I will take a spin on the wheel and see what I have to pick. Laura's getting that one. And Sean has got the Tenant of Wild
the
Hill
words
Hall.
the and the.
The and the.
Mine's pre-1955. A considerable amount.
We are going to the Central Library, which is the big downtown one. Parking was difficult to find, but we found it, and here we go. It's huge. So these are all the books we got. This is Shauna's. That's Mom's. There's mine. And Laura's. Now we're just taking a little break on the walk back to the vehicle.
Yes. Okay.
Building.
Yeah.
Wow. Can't wait to see what the inside looks like. Or smells like.
Laura wants to smell the inside of the library.
Well, I bet it smells old.
Well, yeah, I assume.
I guess there is a bench here if you wanted to sit and call. Kind of up to you, I guess.
This is a cool looking library. This is the Kano branch of the library. Very old, fancy building.
Gorgeous. 1930.
Ooh, 1930.
I think you would like.
Okay, now we are at the Regent Branch Library up on North Albert. Thank you.
Yep.
Shauna's looking for flowers on the cover. Laura's throwing her books around.
Did you record that?
Yes, I did. Okay, we are back from the city and our library crawl. This is the next day, and I thought I would go through my books that I picked out and let you know what they were. So I have my bag of books here. Bring them out. At the first library we went to, which was the George Bothwell Library down on South Albert, my prompt was a book with a 4-word title, and I chose Peril at the Exposition by Nev March. I've never heard of this author before. This does look like it's the second book in a series, but it still will be fine to read now. These types of books usually are. This one takes place in 1893, and you have newlyweds Captain Jim Agnihotri and Diana Framji. And they are settling into their home in Boston, Massachusetts. They were from British Bombay, and they've left there now. And Jim is a detective at the Dupree Agency, and he's teaching Diana the art of deduction that he learned from Sherlock Holmes. So it looks like what happens is that he ends up going to Chicago to the World's Fair to investigate the murder of a man named Thomas Grew. And then Jim goes missing, and Diana has to try and find him. So this looks like it'll be a fun historical mystery. As you guys know, I love historical mysteries. And if I like this one, I'll have to check out the first one in the series. I believe there's 2 in the series. Yeah, Murder in Old Bombay is the first one in the series. So that was at the first library. Then we went to Central Library, which is downtown. Parking was horrible trying to find a spot to park there because there's so many one-ways in downtown Regina. But anyways, we went to Central Library, and my prompt was to find a book with a colorful spine. So I ended up going with this one, which looks quite funny. This is called The Wrong Dead Guy by Richard Cadre. And I had looked at a few other ones that looked like they would be interesting, some fantasies and a mystery thriller. But then I saw this one and I just had to get it because it sounds so funny. This is actually the second book in a duology, but again, it's not a case where you have to read the first one first. But this is about Coop, who's a master thief who's sort of gone legit, and he had saved the world from an ancient doomsday device. So now he works for the Department of Peculiar Science, which is a top secret government agency that polices the odd and strange. He gets sent out to steal a sarcophagus from a traveling exhibition. And when they open it up, the guy who's supposed to be dead inside isn't actually dead. He's undead. And he escapes, the mummy escapes. And then Coop gets sent to try and track down this mummy who is also attempting to find I think it's a manuscript or something that would allow him, an ancient magical manuscript that would help him bring his old lover back to life, but she is a sorceress who wants to destroy the world. So this one, just from reading the jacket, it looks like it's going to be super humorous. This book came out in 2017. It's a little bit older, but looks like it'll be really, really funny. Then when we went to that tiny little Kano library, and that one was just such a cute little library. The building looks like it should be a historical landmark. And talking to somebody at one of the other libraries, they said that chances are that it may be designated a heritage building before too long. This one was difficult for me because I had to find a translated book, and in a tiny library like that, there's not a lot of translated books. But then my sister reminded me that I could read a manga. And I haven't read any manga before. I've read a few graphic novels, but I've never read a manga. But I found this one, which is called How to Treat Magical Beasts, Mine and Master's Medical Journal. And this one looks like it's by story and art by Kazuya. And it looks really cute. It's says, in an age of science and forgotten magic, mythic beasts are beginning to disappear from the world. A young girl named Ziska, born into a line of mages, becomes the apprentice to a veterinarian of regular animals, but Ziska's interests lie with the beasts of a more magical nature. Can she help these creatures of legend survive in a world that's leaving them behind? So that one sounds interesting. Given that I have a lot of books to read, it's kind of nice to have a manga because that's a little bit of a shorter one. Then we went down to the Albert Library, which was a little bit further on north. We were starting at the south of Albert and heading north. And I had to pick a book from a genre that I don't normally read. And there's not a lot of genres I don't normally read because I've been reading across lots of different genres lately. But so I kind of thought, well, I could pick a romance because romance is not my favorite genre. I thought I could maybe pick a sci-fi because I'm only just starting to get into sci-fi. Some of those sorts of books. But then I got to thinking, like, I could do like subgenres, and one subgenre that I don't read a lot of is haunted house type horror stories. I don't read a lot of horror in general, but I especially don't read a lot of haunted house stories. Those ones I read last Halloween were pretty much the only ones that I've read in a long time. I found this one here called The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. And this is a book that came out in, it's large print. That'll be a fast read. Didn't realize it was large print. Oh well. Anyway, this one came out in 2021, and it says, if you can hear it, the whistling, it's already too late. And this one follows a woman named Elspeth Swanson who takes the position of a nanny on to a family in a remote Scottish island of Skelthsea. Her charge, Mary, hasn't uttered a word since the sudden death of her twin William, just days before the former nanny disappeared. No one talks about it, but she hears hypnotic lullabies in empty corridors, and strange dolls appear in abandoned rooms, and there's a faint whistling that comes at night. So it sounds really super spooky, and I'm looking forward to checking that one out. So then at the final library that we went to, it was, what is it called, the Regent Library or something like that? Anyway, I'll put it on the screen if I didn't get it right. And that was way further up on North Albert. And that was kind of a nice, bigger library. I had to pick a book with LGBTQ plus representation. And so I chose Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. I loved The House in the Cerulean Sea and Somewhere Beyond the Sea by him. I've been really, really wanting to read more T.J. Klune, and this was the only one that they had there. This one is about says when a reaper comes to collect Wallace from his own funeral, Wallace begins to suspect he might be dead. And when Hugo, the owner of a peculiar tea shop, promises to help him cross over, Wallace decides he's definitely dead. But even in death, he's not ready to abandon the life he barely lived. So when Wallace is given 1 week to cross over, he sets about living a lifetime in 7 days. And it looks like it'll be super good. I love TJ Klune, and his books always have good LGBTQ plus representation. So I'm assuming that this one will as well. And yeah, so I'm going to start reading all those books. We have on our readathon that we're doing, we have a month to read everything, and then we're going to get together and talk about what we read and whether we enjoyed it, what our favorites were, that sort of thing. And we had so much fun doing this library crawl that we're going to actually do some more of them over the course of the year. We wanted to do one of some of the little local libraries around here, because all of the little towns had their own little libraries, and so we could do a few at different little libraries around here. And then there's also another 5 libraries in Regina that we could do. So that was really, really fun to go around to all those libraries and check them out. And we were able to have a really good, fun nerd day. So I will let you guys know which book I end up reading first. I haven't decided which one I'm going to read first yet, and I'll let you know what I think of it as I go. And yeah, I'll see you soon. Yeah, this cat is weird. So, little update. I read during Summerween last week, I read How to Treat Magical Beasts by Kazuya. I will put Raven down so I can pick up the book. That is the manga that I got at the third library I went to. So, stop it. Don't attack the microphone, you brat. This is the brat. Raven, you silly boy. Yeah, so I read that one during Summerween, and I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. Essentially, you're following this young girl. She's very interested in magical beasts because her family has magical skills. And so she inherited that from her mother. And it's in this world where science is taking over from magic. So she wants to be able to help magical beasts, but she's apprenticed to a veterinarian for actual normal animals. So the story is following her journal as she and her master help these magical animals. I found it very cute. It's one of the first mangas that I've ever read. I'm not real big on manga or graphic novels. For some reason, I just don't connect with them kind of the same way as I do with an actual novel. But this one was very cute. I liked the artwork. The story was nice. I wouldn't be opposed to continuing and reading another volume in it. So yeah, that was my first read, and I gave that one 3.5 stars. So I think what I'm going to read next is this one here, Peril at the Exposition by Nev March. And this was the first one that I had gotten, or the one that I'd gotten at the first library. So I think this is the one I'm going to read next. I'll let you know a little bit more about it once I've gotten into it a bit, but it is a historical mystery, which, I like historical mysteries. So I will let you guys know once I get a little further in what the actual plot is. So I made a start last night on the Peril at the Exhibition by Nev March. And it's interesting so far. It's the second book in a series. The first book took place in India, apparently. There's enough of a summary of things going on that I'm not having trouble telling, who's who and whatnot. So with reading the second book. But if I like it, I'll go back and read the first one. And it's about this couple. They've just moved from India. They're newly married. They've just moved from India. And it's at the time of the Chicago World's Fair, when they're prepping for the World's Fair. And they've just moved to the States. And her husband, it's told from the point of view of the wife, Diana is her name, Diana. Her husband, Jim, got a job working as a detective for this detective agency. And at the beginning of the story, he gets sent to Chicago to help this guy who was looking into some things that had gone on. There was a murder and everything. So then he leaves to do that, but he's gone for like 5 weeks, which is without contacting her, which is really unusual. And so she starts to get really worried. And then this guy shows up at her door, who is a German professor. This is all in the first couple chapters. He shows up at her door and essentially tells her that her husband had messaged him. Yeah, they messaged each other easily back then. Had written him a letter with some scraps of paper in German, and he needed them translated, but said, like, tell no one. He doesn't want to translate them and send them because he thinks it'll come back to get him, because it'll look like he wrote it. And it turns out that there's some part of it has something to do with explosives and whatnot. So she is getting really, really worried, and she goes to his supervisors at this detective agency, and they haven't heard from him either. So she's really, really concerned about him. And so basically she's forcing them to send her to look for him. And if you get a feel, as soon as you get a feel for her character, it does seem in character that she would force them to do that. It's another one of those cases of a strong, independent woman in the Victorian era. So, yeah, so she, that's kind of where I left off last night, and it's quite near the beginning yet, but it's getting interesting already. The writing style is easy to read, kind of grabbed me right away with the threat of danger and everything. So I'm going to keep on reading that one, and I will let you guys know when I get a little further into it. Mom, did you read all of the books that you took out from the library?
I DNF'd one,
Okay.
but I read the other 4.
Which one did you DNF?
I DNF'd that one called Out of Hounds.
Okay. What was your favorite book that you read?
My favorite was The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton.
Okay. And what was your least favorite?
Well, the one I DNF'd.
Yeah.
But other than that, I would say probably the one You May Now Kill the Bride
Okay.
was probably my other least favorite.
Okay. So rank them from top to bottom, favorite to least
Top
favorite.
to bottom would be The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton at the top. Then it would be 21 Days by Anne Perry. Then it would be probably Our Missing Hearts by Celeste, and NG is
Yeah,
the
Ning
last name.
would be
Okay,
her last
Ning. And then that one, You May Now Kill the Bride.
Okay. And if you had to recommend one of the books you read to me, which one would you be most likely to recommend and why?
The Secret Keeper by Kate Morton, because Kate Morton, that is an excellent book. Like it was the best.
Well, as you can see, Raven and I are hanging out. But I wanted to update you on where I got so far with Peril at the Exhibition. Because I actually ended up getting over 50% yesterday, and I realized I hadn't given you guys an update. So I'm starting to... Oh, you gonna go see what your babies are up to? Okay. So I'm starting to enjoy it a lot more. I'm getting into the characters a bit more, and the mystery is starting to get quite interesting. The setting is kind of unique for me because the main characters are from India, and they have immigrated to the United States at the time of the Chicago World's Fair. They arrived like 6 months before. And so it's a culture that I haven't read a lot about, so I'm finding that really interesting, learning about some of the religion and the what events were going on back in that 1800s time period. And I also am finding it quite fun to see some of the interactions and the whole idea of how difficult it would have been to move from a completely different country and lifestyle and everything to the West in that time period, and the even just understanding the slang that people are using and that sort of thing. It leads to some funny experiences and everything. Like I say, the mystery itself is quite good. The only downside that I'm finding with this book so far is that the writing to me is just a little bit, I want to say it's a little on the simple side. Like it almost, other than the fact that the characters are older, it almost reads a little bit more YA to me, just because the sentence structure and the trying to think of the right way to describe it. Like kind of the sentence structure and the storytelling structure just seems a little bit on the simplistic side to me. Like things like, the use of exclamation marks to create excitement or worry or whatever, rather than doing that with the sentence itself. So just little things like that. But overall, it's not really taking away from the enjoyment of the read at all. I definitely, right now at 50% through, I'm interested in checking out the rest of the series, but likely check it out from the library rather than purchasing it at this point. The characters are very... they're kind of layered, but they're also a little bit on the simple side. So that's where, again, that kind of adds to the little bit more of a YA feel to it, I think. But at the same time, like it's not taking away from the story or anything. Like I'm getting into it now, and I'm curious about what's going to happen, and it's dealing with a lot of stuff to do with labor unrest and unions and that sort of thing. And I think too, maybe that's part of why it seems a little on the simple side, because there's a lot of extreme depth and stuff that you could go into, and emotion and stuff that you could go into with that I feel is just kind of like surface, touched on the surface, and rather than going super deeply into it. And it's not a super long book, being that it's a mystery, so that could also be part of it as well. So yeah, I'll update you guys when I finish. I'm hoping to finish that one this week and hopefully start on another one at least this week as well. Depends on how things go. It's been pretty warm and humid here lately, and I've been having issues with chronic pain in my shoulder, so that makes me a little bit tired, in case you hadn't been able to tell from the last couple of videos. I've been a little on the tired side and not real energetic, thanks to the weather and the chronic pain. But anyway, yeah, I will update you guys when I get further through the book. Well, everyone, I finished reading Peril at the Exposition a couple of days ago, and I hadn't had a chance to record my thoughts yet. You want to go play with your brother? Okay, just don't get in the way. Good. Anyways, and I ended up giving this one 4 stars. It definitely was a good mystery, and it did get a little bit more in depth into some of the grittier realities as the story went on. I still did find that it was a little bit simplistic in the writing, and if that shakes, it's because of these kittens. Excuse me, stay off of there, please. They're very energetic today. I did still find that the writing was a little bit simplistic in a lot of places, like I said before, the use of exclamation marks to convey excitement rather than what was written. There was just it just didn't go quite as deep as I would have liked it to go into some of the issues surrounding the working class and everything. But overall, I did enjoy it. It was fun reading from the point of view. Excuse me, young man. This little beastie is attacking my camera. I did enjoy reading from the point of view of, are you going to go play with your dad? Okay, go down there and play with your daddy then. I did enjoy reading from the point of view of a different culture. So your main characters come from India. Your main female character is of Persian descent, and she's of the Zoroastrian religion, which I'd never read about before. And then your other main character, her husband, is another man from India who is from a different class than she was. So, but it made for a really interesting reading. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the discussion on racism and on I enjoyed the discussion on racism, but that's not what I meant. I found it very interesting, the way she discussed racism and the way she talked about how at the turn of the beginnings of the 1900s, end of the 1800s, America was seen definitely as a place where people could come and, regardless of their background and their history, they could make a new life for themselves. And so that part was quite interesting. It doesn't, unfortunately, reflect the values that seem to be happening today. But anyways, that's what it was like at the time. The other thing that I did like about this one here was that Moki, stop it. Moki, can you not, please? Oy. Most chaotic video. The other thing that I did find quite interesting in this one as well was the trans representation. I don't see that a lot in historical fiction, just when you read, your general historical fiction set in a mystery series. I tend to read a lot of stuff from medieval and Viking era, and definitely that sort of thing was not looked upon fondly back then. So it was kind of refreshing to see it in here, and especially just the way that the character was played, the way the character was written was really good. I enjoyed her character. Oh, stop it. I enjoyed her character a lot, and thought that was pretty cool to find that in some historical fiction. So overall, I did enjoy the book. Like I say, I gave it 4 stars. I think I would definitely read more in the series. I just don't think I would buy them yet. I think I would want to read more from the library first to see what I thought of them. So that was that book taken care of. So I've read 2 of the library books so far. So I think the next one that I'm going to tackle is going to be Under the Whispering Door by T.J. Klune. And I believe I already told you a little bit about what this was about. But we have the Reaper coming to collect Wallace from his funeral, and he suspects that he might be dead. And then Hugo, the owner of a peculiar tea shop, promises to help him cross over, and he decides he's definitely dead. But he has a week to cross over, and so he goes about trying to live a lifetime in 7 days. I've liked T.J. Klune's writing before, so I'm looking forward to this one. And I will start reading that one next. So I'm just out watering the horses, and I thought I'd tell you about Under the Whispering Door, because I finished that one last night. That was the one that I got for the prompt of a book with LGBTQ plus representation, and I got it from the last library we went to. So, like I mentioned in the lead up to this, the story is about Wallace Price, and you're following him. Hi, Peanut. You're following Wallace as he discovers that he's dead. And in this world, what happens is when you die, you get helped by a reaper who then takes you to a ferryman who walks you through the process of leaving through this door. And they don't know what's beyond the door, but just that people are usually, when they finally get over their fear and go through it, they're usually quite happy. Right, Peanut? So, Wallace is a high-powered lawyer who is a jerk to everybody, and he doesn't want to be dead. But when he gets there, he meets Hugo, who is the ferryman, and Hugo's ghost father, and a ghost dog, and then the Reaper her name is May. And throughout the story, you're getting sort of, they're helping Wallace find himself, essentially, and figure out who he is. So in death, he kind of figures out more about what life is actually about. And it was really good. The topics were very heavy, which, I mean, you can be expected for that type of a book, but they were a lot heavier even than I was anticipating. What do you think, Peanut? I've got to go switch my water and then I'll keep telling you about it. So anyways, I'm back again. Hopefully the wind's not too bad out here. But anyways, like I was saying, it's a very heavy story, and definitely look up your trigger warnings if you're going to read it. There are things like what happens after someone offs themselves. There's a lot of loss. There's child death, those sorts of things. So you're going to want to look up your trigger warnings. But it's typical of TJ Klune in that it has lots of heartwarming moments, found family elements, and a hopeful feel to it in general. I can't say that I super enjoyed reading it just because of how heavy it was. And that's why I'm going to give it a 4. My ratings do include an element of my enjoyment level. And while it was very well written and I liked the characters and everything, when I compare it to something like The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, that one was a huge 5-star for me. I can't give this one quite the same just because I didn't enjoy it as much. I also think that in that one, I kind of liked some of the characters more. I think that Linus, the main character in that one, has more redeeming qualities than Wallace does. I mean, you're in Wallace's head, and he very quickly comes to realize that he was a total a-hole in life. So then you're following him as he's discovering how to be a human, essentially. So it's kind of a fun character arc to follow. But at the beginning, he has 0 redeeming qualities, which is different from Linus in House in the Cerulean Sea, who thinks he's doing good. So I guess that would be the other difference for me. But yeah, I would say that one was definitely worth reading. I gave it 4 stars, and I will definitely be reading more TJ Klune. I do really enjoy his writing, and his writing all seems to, so far, I mean, I've only read 3. I've read the 2 Cerulean Sea ones and then this one, but his writing does seem to have a bit of a feel to it. It's kind of like, that in the end, you're gonna, even if it's not, even if there's aspects of it that aren't all happy ending, that there's going to be hopeful and satisfying endings, which this one definitely was. And it did have me on the edge of my seat right up to the end with what was going to happen, because it looked like it was going in a direction that I was hoping it wouldn't. But it did have me at the edge of my seat. So. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars, and next I am going to work on the Richard Kadrey one, which was, what the heck was that one? Oh, The Wrong Dead Guy. So, which is supposed to be a funny one about a guy who's like a thief and then ends up stealing a mummy for this organization, and then the mummy comes alive or something along those lines. So anyways, that's the one I'm going to tackle next, and I will let you know when I've read some. The first question is, which was your favorite of the books you read?
I would say The Adventures of Amin al-Sarafi was my favorite.
What did you like the most about that one?
It was a really fun adventure, and I liked a time period that I don't usually read about and a part of the world that I don't usually read about. And even though it had a lot of fantastical elements, it still gave you a feel for that time period, and I really, really liked the main character.
Okay. And what was your least favorite book?
I didn't have any that I didn't like. So I would say The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, probably, just because I read it right after reading The Adventures of Amin al-Sarafi, which was very exciting. And then I went to an old-timey, romance that was like almost 600 pages long and, kind of very slow moving and whatever. Because overall, it was actually a very good story. It was the timing probably more than anything.
Yeah. Did you read all the books that
I did.
Okay,
Yes.
no DNFs.
Nope.
Which one would you be most likely to recommend to me?
Most likely to recommend to you probably The Adventures of Mina al-Sarafi, just because it's got to do with sailing and stuff too, which I know you love, that kind of thing. And I think you'd really get a kick out of the story. But then I would also highly recommend A Man Called Uva, because that one had a really good humorous tone while dealing with some more serious subject matter, but it also was very heartwarming by the end. And I just really liked it a lot. So.
And what order would you rank them in from your favorite to your least favorite?
Okay, so favorite would be The Adventures of Mina al-Sarafi, then A Man Called Uva. Those were very close. It was hard to pick. But then I would say probably The Wonderful, which was a one about some things that happened in 1950s and after. Then would be The Reckoning, which was a John Grisham one that was really quite good. And then The Tenant of Wildfell Hall.
Okay. So, The Wrong Dead Guy. I DNF'd. I read about, probably the first 40 or 50 pages, and I don't think the humor's for me. Essentially, what I gathered from that little section is that you've got this guy named Coop, who's a thief, and he is now working for this special department, and they use him to steal things when needed. But he doesn't overly like having this job. He's more inclined to be a thief, but if he doesn't do this, then he'll get sent to prison. So that's kind of the general gist of it. And then they want him to steal this mummy that is in this museum exhibit. Hi, Gracie. Gracie sure has grown, hasn't she? So yeah, but and he's having the assistance of this professor who is a cat in a television in a robotic octopus. So there are elements of the story that were quite funny so far, but overall, I really felt like it was trying too hard to be funny. Like he was jamming so many different things into the whole situation in that first 50 pages that it was too much. It almost felt to me almost like he was trying a little too hard to be funny, and it just didn't hit for me. Humor is so subjective too, because take for example, John Scalzi. I really love John Scalzi's writing. I read Starter Villain, which had, for all intents and purposes, a somewhat similar premise in that you have all kinds of crazy stuff going on. You have supervillains, and you have sentient animals that are, you have cat spies, and you have unionized dolphins and all this kind of stuff. But I found the humor in that one really hit well for me. It was really funny, and I laughed out loud at several points. In this one so far, in the first 50 pages, I just had it was just too much. I didn't find it funny. And some of the jokes were a little bit off color for me. I found the attitudes to be a little bit annoying more than funny in some cases. And yeah, it just overall, like I say, humor is so subjective, and this one just wasn't for me. So I did decide to DNF that one. So it will be on now to the final one, which is The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. So we will see how that one goes, and whether I like that one, and that will be the final book for this vlog series. The last library book that I needed to read for this library challenge is The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. So I started this one last night, and I actually this is actually, it's kind of funny because I didn't realize this was like a large print edition. So yeah, there's large print. I'm on page 67, which is chapter 8. So it actually takes place, I didn't realize this one was historical, but it actually takes place in 1860, I believe. And you're following this woman named Elspeth. She has suffered severe loss in her life. Her family is all dead, and she's the last one left. You learn that her father had died at one point, and then her mother, and she had a brother that died as a child, and then most recently she had lost her sister in a fire. So she's really grieving and struggling to want to move forward with life. At the beginning, she is boarding this boat to head for this island in, I believe it's northern, is it Scotland? Let me see here. Yeah, a remote Scottish island of Skelthsea. And she is heading there to be the nanny to a young girl. The girl's name is Mary. And Mary has also suffered severe tragedy in her life. Mary's father died quite a long time ago, and then her mother recently passed away, and then her twin brother, William, passed away from a tragic accident. And at the beginning, you don't know what that accident was, but you just know it was a tragic accident. And Mary hasn't spoken since the accident with William. They also had a nanny named Hetty, who was looking after them and had been there for about 5 years. And after the mother's death, the nanny up and left. So this is the kind of situation that she's headed to on this island. They're now being looked after in this kind of old derelict sort of manor house by their aunt. Elspeth gets there, and at first she finds that the people aren't overly friendly. She gets off the boat, and the guy who comes to meet her there is really gruff and everything. Then when she does get there, she finds that the housekeeper is quite friendly and everything, but they don't want to talk about William, the boy who died. And anytime that she mentions him and is trying to find out what happened to him, she gets shut down and told that the aunt who is looking after Mary now doesn't want anybody talking about him, and all his stuff has been put away and everything. She does go and explore, and she finds the schoolroom and where the old nanny had lived and everything up on the upper floors. And it's really creepy up there. The one thing that she is definitely doing well in this book so far in the first 8 chapters is vibes. It has definitely got that really creepy vibe to it. And I am curious to see where it goes. It's not really my style of book, which was the whole point, was that I was picking up something I don't normally read. It's definitely going to have some kind of a ghosty element to it. She's already been hearing things and seeing shadows at the upper windows and that kind of thing. But the aunt is quite standoffish and doesn't really acknowledge Mary the child very much. The child Mary doesn't say anything, but she is starting to kind of appear to like Elspeth. And then there's some other maids and stuff, but the one, her name is Greer, and she's really unfriendly to Elspeth. And you're not exactly sure why, other than that she had been the one who was supposed to be kind of looking after the children when the accident happened. But and then there's something curious going on with the other nanny, and the fact that she just like up and left. And my personal opinion right now is that I don't know if the nanny actually up and left or if something happened to her. Apparently she left on a ship to go to the Americas, and it was quite sudden and everything. But I think that something else happened to her. I don't think that she actually left, but I mean, that's not a spoiler because this is just what I think, and it's really early in the book so far. But anyways, that's where I'm at right now, and I'm going to keep reading that one and hopefully get done it fairly quickly. It's coming along. It's quite a fast read, I think, partly because this particular version of it is a large print version, so I'm whipping through the pages fairly quickly. But it's also not a super long book. So I will read some more and let you guys know what I think of that. Hello, Laura.
Hello.
So here are your questions.
Okay.
First of all, did you actually read all of the books that you took out?
I am just finishing up the last book.
Okay. And did you DNF any?
I DNF'd 2 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which ones did you DNF?
I DNF'd The Discreet Charm by A.M. Smith,
Mm-hmm.
and then I DNF'd Foot by Tom Bredino.
Okay. What was your favorite book of the ones in the list?
It's a toss-up between The Whisper House by C.S. Green and The Survivors by Jane Harper.
Okay.
I really, really like The Whisper House. And I actually emailed her, and she says she has 2 more, or no, 1 more following that one. So I'm going to take it out and read it and stuff. So
Cool.
yeah.
Okay. And what was your least favorite book?
The Discreet Charm.
And so that was one of the ones you DNF'd.
Yeah.
Of the ones that you read, what was your least favorite?
I guess Death on the Red Sea, but they were all really good.
Okay.
Like really good.
So rank them in order of favorite to least favorite.
Okay. So my favorite would have to have been, well, right now it's sitting with The Whisper House, but I haven't finished The Survivors yet.
Hmm.
So The Whisper House, then The Survivors, then Death on the Red Sea, and Antique Hunters, Death on the Red Sea, then Foot, then The Discreet Charm.
Okay. And if you were to recommend one of these books to me, which one would you be most likely to recommend and why?
And you've read The Survivors, right?
Yeah, I have.
Okay. I would recommend Death on the Red Sea because it's a really fun mystery, and it's not too slow, but it's not like really death and mayhem and all that. It was really good. It was a really fun read.
Okay. Well, it is a beastly hot day again. It is supposed to get up to 36 degrees Celsius today, which is ridiculous. And as you can see, I'm sweating even though I'm in the air conditioning. And I got a bit of sun this morning doing chores and everything. But I wanted to give you guys a quick update. I have been reading The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. I'm now on page 127. I'm getting quite far into it. And it's definitely getting creepier and creepier. I am actually quite enjoying it. It is spooking me out. So at this point, you've started to get some of the more ghostly activities. Come here, Moki. What do you think, Moki? What do you think? You want to go, don't you? You squirmy. Squirmy wormy. Look at how chunky this little guy has gotten. He's such a chonk. I know. Okay. Off you go. Okay. So it's gotten quite spooky. Some of the things that definitely seem supernatural have started to happen. You also have a little bit of an urgency to Elspeth's position there, because Mary's aunt has been calling a psychology type doctor in to see her, and if she hasn't improved in another 3 months, she could potentially end up having to go to a home or whatever. But so Elspeth is kind of devastated about this because she's come to really care for Mary. And you're also finding out that not everything was as it seemed with both the old nanny Hetty and with William, the boy who died. You're starting to discover that things were not all... there were a lot of people in the community who didn't mourn him when he died. So that is also spooky. They're starting to involve some witchcraft and things, and I am finding it very creepy. I was reading it the other night, and I had to stop because it was getting too creepy for me. Because this is the genre that I don't normally read. So, but I am actually, it's super hot today, like brutally hot. So I'm going to be spending my day inside. So I am going to try and finish this one if I can. Because I have, it is large print, but I have about 60% left. So I'm going to try and get this one done today if I possibly can. And then that will be my last one for the library vlog. So I will update you guys once I get a little further and hopefully finish. about the lighting, guys. It's late at night though, and I wanted to film this, so I'm trying to use my light and see if that helps, but it's a little dark in here. Anyways, last night, I finished The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. This one, I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. This was an interesting book for me, being that it was a genre that I don't normally read. I found it very creepy and quite scary. I was reading it at night, the one night, and I quit partways through and then read it during daylight the next day. So I would say the vibes in this one are very good. It definitely has spooky vibes, gothic vibes. It takes place in 1860, I believe it was. And so but with the old manor house, the crumbling manor house and everything, there's really good gothic vibes to it. The characters I liked. I really liked Elspeth's character for the most part. She was a nice layered character with her own backstory that was affecting how she was reacting to things. But the main quibble that I had with it was that in the middle portion of the book, I understand what she was doing. She was building tension by having each day have something happen that kind of spooks her a little bit more, and it builds this tension. But I found that when I got about halfway through the middle section, I was finding it very repetitive. And so in my brain, I was like, okay, like I get it. It's scary. It's spooky. She thinks she's seeing ghosts, whatever, but get on with the plot, because I found that just that middle section dragged a lot for me and felt like it was just this day, this happened. Then this day it happened again, but slightly differently. And then the next day it happened again, but just ever so slightly differently, or she reacted slightly differently. And so I found that middle section very repetitive. So that was the only quibble that I had. That was the only quibble that I had with it. Otherwise, it was definitely got excellent gothic vibes and very spooky. I believe that this is one that my younger sister would really like, but we'll get to that. So that means that I have finished all the books for the library vlog. So I should probably tell you or answer the same questions that I asked everybody else about their stuff. So the first one is, which of the books was my favorite? Now, I would say probably my favorite, I'm actually going to go with Peril at the Exposition by Nev March. This was one that I gave 4 stars to. I think I would call this one my favorite. The other 4-star that I had was the TJ Klune one. And I think I would call this one my favorite just because I enjoyed the actual process of reading it more. I found with the TJ Klune one, Under the Whispering Door, because it was such a heavy topic and there were a lot of discussions of heavy things in it, I found that one a little bit less entertaining to read, whereas this one here, I was quite entertained as I read it. So the actual reading experience in this one was what pushed this one over the top for being my favorite of the books that I read. Then my least favorite, well, of course, probably I would say the least favorite was The Wrong Dead Guy by Richard Kadrey, because I did DNF this one at 64 pages. Again, like I told you before, the humor was not hitting for me. It just felt like there was too much piled in, like he was trying to come up with every possible funny thing that he could throw in there and throw it into like this humor salad. So so I would say this one was my least favorite of all of them. My least favorite of the ones that I read is hard, but I guess I'll maybe go with How to Treat Magical Beasts by Kazuya, Volume 1. And that's simply because I'm not really a manga reader, and it was a cute story, but I found myself just kind of whipping through it fairly quickly and didn't really feel anything for the characters or anything like that. So that's the one that I read that I would probably put as that, but I did enjoy it. I didn't give it 3.5 stars, but so my other question that I was asking everybody is, what are they most likely to recommend to me out of their book list? So I'm going to pick one of these books and recommend it to each of my family members. So let's start from the youngest. So my younger sister, Laura, I would definitely recommend to her The Whistling, because I know she really likes spooky ghost stories, and this definitely had the vibe. As I was reading it, I was thinking that she would enjoy this. So this is the one that I would definitely recommend to her because of the spooky gothic vibes and the haunting elements to it. For my older sister, Shauna, I think I would recommend Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, because I know she really enjoys TJ Klune's writing and she hasn't read this one yet. And I think that she would, again, really enjoy it. It's got the exact same vibe as all of his other stuff that I've read. And so I think she would really enjoy this because I know she likes that vibe. And then for my mom, I would actually probably recommend Peril at the Exposition by Nev March, because my mom really likes a good mystery. And she does tend to like historical mysteries as well, kind of like me. And I think that she would probably enjoy the mystery elements of this and the characters. I think she would probably enjoy them as well. So this would be the one that I would recommend to my mom. So if I'm going to rank these in order of my rating and how I liked them, I would go, let me just set it up here. I did that really awkwardly, didn't I? Okay, so this would be my order of ranking. At the top, I would put Peril at the Exhibition. I always say exhibition. Peril at the Exposition by Nev March, which was my book with a forward title. And that one I gave 4 stars. Coming in second would be Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. That one was LGBTQ plus rep. And that one I also gave 4 stars. Coming in third would be The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. And that one was a genre that I don't normally read. And that one I gave 3.5. Then next would be How to Treat Magical Beasts, Volume 1 by Kazuya. I gave that one 3.5 as well. And that was for a translated book. And then coming in last would be The Wrong Dead Guy by Richard Kadrey, which I DNF'd. And that one was for A Colorful Spine. So there you have my summary of my books that I read and what I thought of them. And I hope you guys enjoyed that. Give me a like and subscribe if you did. And subscribe so that you know when the next library vlog is coming up, because we're planning another trip here in September. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.